let's talk about gear. The first thing you're gonna need is a camera, a mirrorless or a DSLR camera. You know, a full frame sensor, it is recommended because it's going to capture more light, but it's not mandatory. In fact, I shoot all of these pictures using a Micro Four Thirds camera, which is the camera I'm using to shoot this video, the Panasonic GH5. This is my new camera. This is a Sony a7 IV, and it is a full frame camera. Now, when it comes to the camera, choose a camera that can shoot in RAW, so you're gonna be able to capture more information. And also, something that I highly recommend you, it's about the screen, is to choose a camera that have a flip out screen like this one, instead of a tilt screen. Why is that? Because when you shoot the Milky Way, you're gonna find yourself a lot of times shooting in a vertical position. And if you don't have a flip out screen, then to see what's going on, to see the screen, you're gonna find yourself in very uncomfortable position, especially because also the camera a lot of times is going to be in a very low position. You're gonna find yourself putting the tripod in the lowest position. So if you don't have a flip out screen, then you are gonna have to lie on the ground to see what's going on. And if you're in the middle of a desert, in the middle of the wilderness, you don't want to do that. So I highly recommend you to have a camera with a flip out screen, because let's say the camera is in this position, this is the ground, the tripod is in the lowest position, and then you're gonna have the possibility to see what's going on from above, you know, sitting in your chair in a very in a more comfortable position. So highly recommend you flip out screen. That was the key to make my decision to buy this camera instead of others. Now we're gonna talk about lenses. To capture most of the Milky Way, it is recommended to have a wide angle lens and also to have a wide aperture. So the lens is gonna let more light into it. So when it comes to a Micro Four Thirds camera, a wide angle lens would be from 7 to 14 millimeters. On a full frame camera, probably from 14 to 24 millimeters. And when it comes to the aperture, a wide aperture of at least f2.8, you can probably go down to f1.0. Why not? Those lenses, that aperture let a lot of light into the sensor. So these are the lenses that I use with my Micro Four Thirds camera. This is a Tokina 1120 f2.8. Now this is a full frame lens, so to use it with the Micro Four Thirds, I have to use it with this adapter, which is the Viltrox Metabone Speed Booster EF-M2. Now this creates a little problem with this lens, which is that when I was trying to achieve the infinite focus, I was twisting my focus ring and I find out that it was not enough. So the way to solve this problem is to twist this little ring inside clockwise. You have to do a little bit of a trial and error until you are able to achieve the infinite focus. This is a little problem that you might have if you choose to use a speed booster adapter. Also, the speed booster make the aperture go from 2.8 to 2.0, so it lets more light into the lens. This is the second lens I use with the Micro Four Thirds, which is a Rokinon 12mm f2.0. This lens gave me incredible results, and it's a very cheap lens. It's just $250. So if you're on a budget, I highly recommend to choose this brand, which is Rokinon, or they also name Samyang lenses. This is a Sony lens on my full frame camera. I use this Sony 20mm f1.8, which is a great lens. It's also probably a more expensive lens. You can also use other lenses, not wide angle lens, to capture different kind of pictures. If you want to capture just a section of the Milky Way instead of the whole Milky Way, you can use other lenses. For instance, this is a 50mm lens, or any lens. It depends on what you want to capture and the composition you're using. But if you want to capture most of the Milky Way, yes, it is recommended to have a wide-angle lens. Another thing you're gonna need is a tripod. Try to choose a good tripod. Believe me, those plastic tripods are not a good option. Why? Because probably you're gonna have to deal with high winds, and then that is when a good tripod it becomes your best friend. Believe me. Try also to choose a tripod that has the possibility to open the legs a little bit wider. Let's say this is position 1, and then you can open wider. You see? This is a good option to have a tripod that can go with the legs wider. Also, it is a good idea if the tripod has a hook to hang away. Because that makes it more stable if you're dealing with high winds. You can hang whatever you have at hand. Let's say your backpack, probably, why not? But try to choose a good tripod, because you know, when you're up in the wilderness, you're gonna have to deal with the elements and a lot of things, and it is a good idea to have a good one. Another piece of gear that you're going to need is something to remote control your camera. Especially if you're doing light painting, you're gonna be away from the camera. But if you're not doing light painting also, because it's not a good idea to touch your camera. You see, every slight movement of the camera, it can ruin the whole shooting. So once you got your composition, it is a good idea to connect your camera to a remote device, and then don't touch your camera ever again. So when I was using the Panasonic GH5, I was controlling the camera from an application from my phone or my iPad. In fact, right now I'm controlling the camera from this iPad, and that works very good. It has very good connection, and it was also very handy to see the pictures after I was taking them. Then when I moved to the Sony camera, I tried to do the same thing, but I found out that the Sony app is not that good. It loses connection a lot of times, even when I'm close to the camera. So then I bought this remote controller. This connects via USB to the camera, and then it's controlled by this remote shutter. This works with radio frequency, so it has a lot of range. It says 100 meters. I never tested, but I never have a problem of disconnection with this remote shutter. I also have the iPad with the Sony app connected to the camera. I leave my iPad close to the camera to see the pictures. You know, it is also a good idea to have a device with the big screen to be able to see the pictures and see if you nail your focus and stuff like that. If you're having connection issues with your remote controller from an iPhone or an iPad, it is also a good idea to turn off all your other devices, all your other phones, that could be interfering with the Bluetooth or with the wireless Wi-Fi connection. But if you have connection issues, like as I said with the Sony app, probably it is a good idea to get one of these guys. So that is when it comes to remote controlling your camera.